To this evening where metaphorically the clouds have parted for the sunshine. Over the last 2 months, we have been in close acquaintance with Bansan, and that has been through his extremely efficient yet humane assistant, Ms. Kyoko. We have spent months exchanging emails with her, and recently a few sleepless nights. And through this process, we have become acquainted with Shigeru Ban architects. As a practice with great self-knowledge and equally great self-worth. Ms. Kyoko shared the formal introduction to Bansan, but this distinguished list of accomplishments is knowledge already to the people gathered here and to those who may listen to this later. It is my great honor to introduce architect Shigeru Ban for this evening. A warm round of applause, please.
Good evening. First of all, I have to apologize for the rearranging my schedule because of I didn't feel well. But I'm so happy that the member of the SEED and the relative people worked so hard to reorganize my lecture, and very happy to be here tonight. Thank you so much. Today, I'm going to show you my project. In the beginning, it's normal commercial commissioned work, and then I will show you my project in disaster areas. I started working in disaster area because I was disappointed my own profession as architects. We are normally working for privileged people who has money and power. Because power and money is invisible, they hire us to make a monument, to show off their power to the public. I'm not saying I'm not interested in making monument, but I was hoping to use my knowledge and experience not only privileged people, but also people, not general public, and even people who lost their houses by natural disasters. Especially, I recognize that when we had a big earthquake never kill people, but collapse of building kill people. That's our responsibility as architect. But actually, we are looking for new projects coming. When city are rebuilt, we're gonna get more projects. However, I recognize that there are many people suffering with very poor living condition in evacuation facilities and also temporary housing before city are rebuilt. I thought this is our responsibility as architect to improve their living condition, even evacuation facilities. That is why I started working in disaster area. Slide, please. First thing I did was designing exhibition. This is first exhibition I designed for my favorite architect, Alvar Aalto from Finland, 1986. Because I've been to Finland many times, I want to design the exhibition like Alvar Aalto's building. Like he used a lot of wood, natural materials, but I couldn't afford using wood. Also, I didn't want to waste such a precious material like wood for temporary use. So I was looking for the material to replace wood, and then I found the recycled paper tubes, which was all over my studio. When we finished, now that the facsimile, we use normal standard paper, but in the 80s, it was roll of paper. When we finished the paper, always paper tube remain. Also tracing papers, always paper tube remain. Because I hate to throw things away, I kept them in my studio. So when I was looking for material to replace it, I thought this is a good material. So smaller diameter tube was used for the ceiling, like Alvar Aalto's B-Please library, and the larger diameter was used for the freestanding partitions. Next, please. Then I found out this material is so strong. So I start testing in order to use this material for building structure. Next, please. This is before people start talking about environment, ecology, recycling. during the kind of economical booming period. Nobody was really interested in this kind of idea. This is the first building I built with paper tube, but it was too difficult to get special government permission to use such an unusual material for structure. So this building, I have to use steel posts and steel roof, and the paper tube was used as a freestanding exterior interior walls. There is 330 tubes. Diameter is 85 centimeter. Wall thickness is 15 millimeter, of course inside is empty, and the length is 8 meter. Some of the tube is bigger. Diameter is 120. Inside is toilet. Just in case you finish with your toilet paper in emergency situation, you can tear off inside the wall. Next, please. Then I designed my weekend house in order to get this complicated government permission. So I spent a year to test and to go through all the committees to convince to get the government permission to use paper tube as a building material. So this is the first permanent building with government permission as a paper tube structure. However, I have no weekend, so still house is empty. Next, please. Few years after, I was asked to design the roof from the local carpenter, where they have very heavy snow. So they wanted to make the big roof in order to walk during the winter season, to build by themselves, by carpenter, not using steel. So I designed another paper tube structure with wooden joint to get another government permission as a permanent building. So this became second permanent building out of paper tube structure. Next, please. Year 2000, the world started talking about environmental issues. This is World Expo held in city of Hanover, Germany. The main theme of the expo was environmental issue. So that I was the only architect using recyclable material for building structure. So I was chosen by government to make the Japanese pavilion. And also this was really incredible chance that I collaborate with genius German architect Fry Otto to realize first grid shell structure in paper tube. I think you skipped one slide. Yes. So this is a paper tube produced in Germany. As a part of the contract, this company has to promise us to recycle. After building demolition half a year later, they have to collect them to recycle them. That's a part of a contract. Also, I didn't want to use a concrete because concrete is difficult material. Actually, it's not possible to recycle. So for the foundation, I made a wooden box filled with sand instead of using concrete. Membrane, normally we use a PVC membrane, but the PVC is not environmentally friendly. So I made the membrane out of paper. Because paper is industrial material, we can waterproof or fire protected. So this is membrane made in paper. And this yellow scaffolding, which can be rotated by hand little by little to push up, to create this three-dimensional shape to stabilize the structure. Next, please. And even connections, it's just fabric tapes. It's easy, inexpensive, and also easy to dismantle. So we covered over 2,500 square with paper tube structure. Next, please. This is a project called Nomadic Museum. Canadian artist Gregory Covero asked me to design his own museum, which travels from city to city, country to country. And I decided to use used shipping container of 20 feet, 6 meters. It's not because shipping container can be traveled. I chose shipping container because this is international standard, and we can find same kind of container anywhere in the world. So here in New York, we built a structure over 200 meters on the wooden pier, and we rented container from nearby shipyard for only 3 months during the exhibition. After exhibition is over, we just return the container to the original shipyard and travel to the Santa Monica Beach, Los Angeles, without bringing container, because we can rent same kind of container in Los Angeles. I made a checkerboard pattern in order to minimize the number of container, connecting container with existing connection in corner. Inside, there is a paper chip of 10 meters supporting the roof. Next, please. This is when we went to Santa Monica. We got this parking lot by the beach, but it was not big enough to bring 200-meter museum. So we had to divide 2 of 100-meter gallery parallelly. But also artist Gregory asked me to design additional theater space. So we kept the space in between 2 galleries and making the new roof to create a theater space. So that the museum became 50% bigger than one New York without adding number of container. Number of container is same from New York. This is when we went to Tokyo. As you can see, the color of the container is different. So this is we happen to borrow in Tokyo. Next, please. 2004, there was big earthquake and created tsunami in surrounding country in Sumatra area. It's a Sumatra earthquake and tsunami. And here in south beach of Sri Lanka, all the fisherman's village was totally destroyed by tsunami. And I went to there to make the housing. And one of the sponsors to support our project asked me to design his own house after project is over. So this is the one we built. This client has a parents. They have a house. Actually, the site is so big, somewhere over here. So in the morning, they just they use the telescope to say good morning and so on. And this house was designed by Japanese architect Tada Ondo. And he's a genius. He didn't visit the site at all, but he built a wonderful concrete house. Further right over here, there is another wonderful house designed by Jeffrey Bauer. I didn't know Jeffrey Bauer until I went to Sri Lanka, but I was really shocked to see his architecture. So while I was visiting Sri Lanka every time for disaster, I went to all over Sri Lanka to visit his house. And I must say this house was totally influenced by Jeffrey Bauer, using the condition of the landscape and stepping up little by little. Finally, you arrive to the main living room with big picture window. I call picture window. Normally, picture window is a square window framing beautiful landscape like a painting. But this is a big picture window framing the ocean view. Next, please. This is a house. It's a rather big house in Japan, as a Japanese house in Fukushima. And although this is a big site, unfortunately there was not beautiful the sceneries outside. So I made a courtyard and swimming pool inside of the site, so that instead of looking out, all the rooms have a window to look in the courtyard and swimming pool. And they wanted to go to the swimming pool very often. So this is a glass shutter, which is normally used for the fire station. I just improved it to use for the residential purposes. So just we have to push button and the shutter goes up immediately. So connecting inside, outside. Even this is when the shutter is open, the family room is connected with the courtyard. So this is the way I connected inside, outside. Next, please. This is the headquarters of the Swiss watch company, as you know, Swatch Group. Swatch Group is one which owned many of the famous brand names like Omega, Tissot, Jacques Doro, Blancpain, and so on. And this is the headquarters in Tokyo. And this was competition. And this was built in Ginza, which is the most expensive commercial land in the world. That's why land is very narrow and very deep. And the upper part is offices. Every 3 floor, there's 3 floor atriums. Even during good season, we have to have air conditioning if it's closed. But I didn't want to depend on air conditioning, so that I put the glass shutter to open to take advantage of natural ventilation in the good season. Also, they are requested to make 7 boutiques of 7 different brand names. Because the site is very narrow, if we make 1 boutique facing to commercial street, rest of the 6 boutiques has to be the back, downstairs, upstairs. I thought that's very unfair not to face to the commercial street directly. Although this was not requested by client, I wanted to make all the 7 boutiques connecting to the commercial street directly. So I made a 4-floor opening by glass shutter in front and the back, and having the green wall and some water feature to make a passage so anyone can come in to this passage to go through. And along this passage, there is 7 glass showrooms of 7 brand names. Next, please. So, for example, this showroom is one of them. Each showroom is built with hydraulic elevator. So you want to see few items, and if you want to see more, just push button. They go up to bring your own customer. For example, this showroom goes to here. This one goes to there. So that because of this unusual solution, each boutique has a direct access from the street to their own boutique. And that is why I was lucky to win this competition. This is the 5th floor atrium. This customer service, when glass shutter is open, this becomes semi-outdoor space. And here is the giraffe. Here's the true story behind this giraffe. Just before the building completed, the president of a Swatch company came to see the construction, and I showed her around. And she was very surprised when she came into this space. She asked me, "Where's the giraffe?" She misunderstood, because during the competition stage, I submitted a drawing, a section drawing. In order to show the height of this 3-floor height, I drew the giraffe. And she thought the giraffe was part of design. And she was so mean that she didn't want to accept as a completion of the building unless she sees a giraffe. So I had to spend my own money to make a giraffe out of wood. So this is a real true story. Next, please. This is a museum in Oita Prefecture, south of Japan. This was competition. Normally, the museum is, we call black box or white cubes, because museum is rather closed boxes. But I wanted to open the museum to the public and street. And so I made the special door called bifolding door to be opened to the street. So in good season, sometimes they close the street to have many different events, so that the inside of the museum can be connected to the street easily. And this, the Oita area is very famous for bamboo craft. So I made a 3-floor gallery with timber structure woven using the locally available cedar trees, like the woven bamboo patterns. Next, please. This is bifolding door when it's open. And ground floor lobby, gallery, the ceiling is hanged from upper floors, so that there are no pillars. We can have the movable partition to close or to have different layout depending on the type of exhibition freely without any pillars. This is 3rd floor lobby with the skylight. It's like a woven bamboo pattern in timber, bringing natural light into the main lobby. Next, please. This is, as you know, famous Pompidou Center in Paris, designed by Renzo Piano and Richard Rogers, completed 1977. 2003, Pompidou Center organized international competition to design satellite museum in city of Metz, which is the east side of France, And I was very lucky to win this competition. And when I visited the museum designed by, for example, Tadao Ando, Arata Isozaki, after they won the competition outside, I always surprised because final completed design is different from what they submitted. And I found out the reason. Normally, when we work outside, we have to collaborate with locally licensed architects. Also, we chose good architects. In the end, they are becoming our enemy. Because instead of listening us to make complicated design to make over budget or the extension of the construction period, they became the side of the client in order to save money, in order to build in time, because they have to spend next many decades with local client. That's the one reason why when we get the project outside, it's very difficult to realize what we design. So I didn't want to miss such a great opportunity to change design. So I decided to do all the construction document and supervision of the construction by myself by opening office in Paris by myself. However, renting office in Paris is very expensive. I couldn't afford. So when I met the president of Pompidou Center first time, I asked him to borrow the rooftop or terrace in order to make my own temporary office. And he thought this is a very interesting idea. When some important guests come to the museum, this was the deal. I showed him or her around inside of my office to show what is happening for new Pompidou Center. So I got to the 7th floor terrace, and I brought my Japanese student to work with French student during summer. We built the structure out of paper tube and a wooden joint by just in 3 months, 35-meter length, and we enjoyed beautiful view of Paris without paying any rent for 6 years. However, there was one disadvantage. When my friend come to see me, because we are part of the exhibition, they had to buy ticket downstairs to see me. That was very inconvenient. Next, please. This is what I submitted for the competition. This is the map of the city of Metz. This is the central train station, 90 minutes from Paris by TGV. And the main part of the city is north side of the train station. Our site was south side, which was totally empty. Although we are away from center of the city, I wanted to connect my museum with the center of the city. This is a model I submitted. There is 3 so-called gallery tubes, 50 meter in width, 90 meter in length. 3 of them are stacking on top of each other and shifted 45 degrees. End of each gallery, there is a picture window. The top tube is facing to the very famous cathedral, and the framing the cathedral with a picture window. Second tube is facing to the train station. Because Metz is the east side of France, every time after the war, they are occupied by German. So this city has lots of classical German, wonderful architecture all over the city, including this train station, which is already important part of the history of the city. So second tube is framing the central train station. The roof, I want to design in timber. The idea comes from traditional bamboo hut. I studied different patterns. And for example, if we divide square, it's easy. But because square doesn't have in-plane stiffness, so we need a bracing. And the connection becomes very complicated. If we divide with triangles, it's very stable shape. We don't need any bracing. But always there is a connection, has a 3 element is meeting. The pattern, which is common, often used for the bamboo craft, has a hexagon and triangle. Also, hexagon doesn't have in-plane stiffness. Because of triangle, we don't need any bracing. And also, each connection, every connection, is only 2 elements is meeting. That is why Many of the bamboo craft use this pattern because the joint is very simple. So I made this pattern, upper cord and lower cord, connected with wooden pieces. So I wanted to avoid using complicated steel connections in order to take advantage of the characteristic of timber. Because once we use steel connections, this doesn't need to be no longer the timber structure, just can be steel structure. So I want to avoid the metal connection. So here we just need a long board to connect all the pieces together. So it's very simple and easy. And also, when we try to align the timber same level, we always need a connection. In order to avoid it, I just overlap each other like a bamboo. Then I created three-dimensional the shape with this simple connection ideas. Next, please. This is completion. This is a picture window. The ground floor is covered by the glass shutter. Before opening hour, people waiting under the big roof in front of the glass shutter. Next, please. So when opening hour, glass shutter open to connect inside outside. This is picture window framed the cathedral. Central tower with the elevator and the emergency stair is made in steel tower, hanging all the timber structure. So this is a tensile structure, tension structure. Next, please. While I was designing Pompidou Center in Metz, I was asked to design golf clubhouse in South Korea. The chairman of this company really loves my design for the Pompidou Center roof, so he asked me to design the roof in timber. So this is a construction photo. I use the same pattern, hexagon and triangle, but this is simple compression arch, not tension structure, so that we don't need any metal connection. We just cut and connect with the traditional joineries. This technology of making three-dimensional timber cutting only exists in Switzerland and Germany. It doesn't exist in Japan or South Korea. But this was a request of the client, so we made everything, all the elements cut in Switzerland, brought over to South Korea to assemble locally. Because I don't play golf, I didn't know what is inside. Only my memory of golf is when I was very small. My father used to take me to the golf practicing range. That time we put the ball on tee in wood. So that was my memory. Now tee is made in plastic. So I made the structure like wooden tee. Next, please. Same client asked me to design the employment training center on the same campus. The main element of this program was big hall like this. But I didn't want to put black box like the auditorium on such a beautiful landscape. So I put this in the underground. But I didn't want people to feel like being underground. So this is a foyer made with a timber structure, supporting glass roof as a pond with water. On top of each tree columns, there is a stainless steel pot with mud, growing trees, so that this pattern of timber is extended to up on top of the water, bringing natural light through the water, and the light and shadow. Next, please. This is 7-story office building in Zurich, Switzerland. Again, I didn't want to use a steel connection. I designed the rigid connection without steel. The post, one column and two beams, and the perpendicular beams profile is oval. Oval profile beam is inserted so that this doesn't rotate. So this became very good rigid connection without metal connections. Next, please. Exterior is just simple aluminum curtain wall with glass shutter. When in the good days, glass shutter can be totally open to connect inside outside in between space. Next, please. This is 7-story office building in Nagoya, Japan. In Japan, we have a terrible fire regulation. It's very, very strict, so that we cannot build 7-story timber building like Switzerland. We have to cover with the cement or plasterboard around the timber, and there is many timber-looking building just covered with thin wood around cement or plasterboard. I didn't want to make such a fake timber structure. Even with this very strict fire regulation, and when the concrete is dry, we remove plywood foam and finish with different materials. So there are many layers. I made a concrete foam out of CLT as the concrete foam, but as a final finish. So this prefabricated CLT formwork just cover the steel and put concrete, remain as a final finish. But also we tested it. The concrete takes the compression and the surrounding CLT work for the bending. So this is a hybrid structure between CLT and concrete, exposing CLT as a final finish. And we can save a lot of time for the construction. Next, please. This is a project called La Seine Musical in Paris. This is a theater complex. This was also competition. This is an island in Seine River. And this used to be Renault automobile factory in the 90s, but they just moved out and it's become empty. And the local government decided to organize the competition to make a theater complex, and I was very lucky to win. And this location is kind of intersection of the highways. And then after they intersected, they drive to the east to go to the center of the Paris. So local government wanted to have some kind of symbolic monument as an intersection of the highways. And I made this concert hall for 1,200 seats in timber, covered by glass. And this is a sail. Normally sail is one to receive the wind pressure, but this is one to receive sunlight to create energy. So this is a solar panel which follows the sun to move little by little, following the sun, always facing the sun, so that it become more efficient to create energy. But also this creates the shading behind the sail to save the air conditioning effect. Next, please. Sorry, go back. Under this green roof, there is another concert of multi-purpose hall for 4,000 seats and the School of Music. Next, please. This is inside the concert hall. I made a totally new mosaic tile working with the old mosaic factory in Vicenza near Venice in Italy. This changed the color depending on the angle of the sun from red to green. This is the timber structure, as you can see, and the back of the solar panels. This is inside the concert hall. The roof is made with paper tube. Different diameter of tube as used. I work with very good acoustical engineer to make this paper sealing for the good acoustical conditions. Next, please. This is the headquarters for the Swatch and Omega in Switzerland, in Villebien. And because the shape of the site was the rail shape, I made the headquarters of Swatch organic shape, because the design characteristic of Swatch is rather playful and colorful, instead of the Omega design, which is quite rigid. So that other building I also designed for Omega was quite straightforward. And this became one of the biggest timber structure, and it's covered by solar panels, ETFE membrane. Also, this structure is covering public street to go to the next building. This is the museum and conference for Omega and Swatch. Next, please. As you can see, the timber structure is covering public street. And during some Sunday, they can close the street to have a public event under this big roof. Next, please. This is a construction photo. As I explained, the Switzerland has a wonderful three-dimensional cutting machine. Each element is cut totally perfectly precise, so that we just need a big rubber hammer to fit them very easily and quietly. Construction is very quick and easy. Inside of the office space, inside the foyer space. Next, please. And this is the building in front. This is a museum of the Omega and Swatch and the conference hall. Only ground floor is made in concrete. Rest of them, 4 floor is timber, beams, column, floors, and this roof coming from Swatch building is a conference hall. Next, please. This is a museum in Taiwan, city of Tainan, south of Taiwan. This is a flower, symbol flower of this city of Tainan. It's a pentagon. I made a pentagon roof. It's called a fractal roof. I wanted to create the park middle of the city, so each gallery is stuck on top of each other and shifted to create the sculpture garden and also the garden for the people. The public can come up to freely to come into the museum from any level. Next, please. This is a diagram showing what is fractal geometry. Fractal geometry is one you can divide, and the same proportion of geometry can gain forever. For example, this is a triangle. You can divide smaller and smaller. Always same triangle is there. So this is a fractal geometry. Professor Sakai of Kyoto University found out if we put the wind to three-dimensional fractal shape, this creates the movement of the wind. So he made some parabola, some resting area in the park. So I collaborated with him to make a big fractal roof to cover this museum. This is a simulation by computer. If building exposed totally without any roof, let's say the surface temperature becomes 60 degrees. If we have a roof, we can reduce 10% of air conditioning, but still there is radiation. If we cover with fractal roof, it's like being underneath of the big trees. It's very cool because it makes the movement of the air. And we found out we can reduce 50% of the air conditioning under the fractal roof. So this is why we made the fractal roof to cover the building, to bring in natural light and shadow to the main atriums. Next, please. This is the most recent small museum in Hiroshima. Because we are facing about 400 meters to the ocean, there are many small islands in front of this site. So I made a small gallery floating like island on the water. And there is a restaurant and the villas. This is the 4 villas I designed 30 years ago as a case study houses. And also there are 10 villas totally. And this is a floating gallery. Next, please. This floating, Hiroshima is very famous for shipyard. There are many ship companies building ship. So I collaborate with shipbuilding company to make this gallery on top of the floating platform. This is standard technology to carry the things behind the boat. And I made a small gallery on top of them, 8 of them. So this is the water. When we have different exhibitions, we can change the layout of the gallery by making the gallery floated. By adding more water, this gallery can be floated. Then only 2 men push by hand, they can move the location of the gallery. And then after we change the location, we just also put the bridges to make different layout. And just we remove the water over, then the gallery sit on the bottom to stabilize. So every time you go to the museum, different exhibitions, we can see the shape of the museum is different. So this is the main foyer space with timber structure. It's oval shaped, the two center spaces, two center point with the timber structure. There's 10 different villas. Next, please. Now we go to the disaster area. 1994, Rwanda, east side of Africa, they had a genocide. Over 2 million people became refugees. And this is the refugee camps created by UNHCR, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. And I was very shocked to see these two photos on the magazine because they are freezing with blanket. I found out during rainy season, they become very cold and they couldn't keep them warm with such a poor plastic sheet shelter, so they are freezing with blanket. I wrote a letter to United Nations in order to, I suggested to improve shelter. However, I got no reply, so I had to go there by myself without any appointment to convince them. But I was very lucky to meet German architect who was responsible for shelter construction, and he accepted me as a consultant because of following reason. This is typical refugee shelter made by United Nations. Refugees have to cut the trees by themselves. They put the plastic sheet given by United Nations. Over 2 million people cut the trees. This area used to be the forest, but all the trees gone. They go much further to cut more trees. This became very serious deforestation, environmental problem. So that United Nations started providing them aluminum pipes. But aluminum was very expensive material locally. Refugees sold them out for money and cut the trees again. So this was not good solution in the end. So that was the timing when I proposed my idea using recycled paper tube as a structure. Next, please. This is a 3 different prototype I made with the support by Vitola. Vitola is a very famous furniture company in Switzerland. This company has a great collection of architecture. This is a furniture museum and factory designed by Frank Gehry. Behind this, there is a seminar house designed by Tadao Ando. Further right, they have another other factory designed by Nicholas Grimshaw, Alvaro Caesar. Further right, they have their own fire station designed by Zaha Hadid. So this company has the most expensive collection of architecture. My prototype became their cheapest collection. This is the Bimba camp. Although I want to design something more comfortable, however, because of the policy of the United Nations, we are not supposed to give them something comfortable. Because if shelter is too comfortable, they're going to stay there longer. But they want them to go back to home as soon as possible, so that I have only 50 US dollar per unit. So this is a very simple shelter made of recycled paper tube in order to stop deforestation. Next, please. Year after, 1995, city of Kobe, Japan, they had a big earthquake. Over 8,000 people killed. And also city was fired after the earthquake. And I read the newspaper, there's Vietnamese refugees gathering at the Catholic Church. I thought the refugees must have a more difficult time than the Japanese evacuees. So I went to see them to this Catholic church, and the city was totally destroyed by fire, so it was so difficult. And I found finally this church. All the building was destroyed by earthquake, and also the burned fire after the earthquake. They are having morning service outside around the fire. After the morning service, I proposed the priest, why don't we rebuild temporary church out of paper tube structure? He thought I'm crazy proposing building after the fire. But he didn't trust me. However, I didn't give up. Every Sunday, I commuted to Kobe. Next, please. And I met the Vietnamese people. They are living like this in a park with a plastic sheet. In fine days, inside the temperature become over 640, and rainy days, all the floor get wet. Also, the government started making temporary housing, but Kobe is very congested area. They are built temporary houses outside of the city, but these veteran people have only job in particular factory in particular areas. If they move out from city, they're going to do their job, so that they want to keep living here even such a poor condition. However, Japanese neighbor people try to kick them out because they are afraid park is becoming like slum. However, they have no place to go. So we decided to make a temporary housing for them. So I gathered my student, and this has to look temporary, but this has to be more comfortable. So this is a 10 centimeter diameter paper tube, only 4 millimeter diameter, sitting on top of the foundation made of plastic beer crates. In Japan, there are two major beer companies called Kirin and Asahi, because Asahi make a beer crate red, which doesn't go with color of paper tube. So I asked Kirin to donate the beer crate, but we are very disappointed because we are expecting they're going to donate beer crate with beer inside, but it's totally empty. We work with structure engineer to put sandbag in order to stand for the typhoon and hurricane. And the inside is like this, double membrane. We can have a ventilation inside of the ceiling. People are living there for 4 years. Next, please. Then the priest trusted me to make a temporary church. Only we got a 10 meter by 50 meter rectangular site. And this is all the students from all over Japan to make out of paper tube. And it's a rectangular shape, but the paper tube was laid oval shape, which come from one of my favorite churches designed by Bernini in Rome. This is the first time they are having morning service under the roof. The priest thought they can use for a few years, but it was there for 10 years. Because this became a symbol of the reconstruction of the city, and this was not only used for the religious service, but also many community services, concert, movie, wedding. So this became a symbol of the city. So they kept them for 10 years. But after 10 years, they decided to rebuild something bigger. I was very lucky to design. But also there's a big earthquake in Taiwan. We disassemble them to send over, next please, to Taiwan. Reassemble it in Puili, village of Puili, as a permanent church and community center. It's still there. There I wonder, what is the definition of temporary structure? What is the definition of the permanent structure? Even building made in paper by a student can be permanent as long as people love it. But as you can see in the big cities, there is many concrete buildings disappear after 10 years, 20 years. Other developer buys the land, destroy existing building to put new one. So even building in concrete, if building was made to make money, they are very temporary. That's my definition. What is temporary and permanent? Next, please. 1999 in Turkey, they had a big earthquake. I was asked to make a temporary housing. All the materials locally available. Paper tube, plastic beer crate were donated totally free of charge from local manufacturer. And this is my favorite photo. Children help us because it's very cold. Put waste paper inside the paper tube to make wall more insulated. Next, please. 2001 in Gujarat. And there, as you may, but student doesn't know, the big earthquake in India. And I was asked to make the temporary housing. All the materials locally available. Even this paper tube was made by fabric company. They make their own paper tube to put the fabric around the paper tube for shipping. Only thing I couldn't get was beer crate because, as you know, nobody drink beer. So that my local Indian architect proposed me to use a red Coca-Cola crate, But I thought red Coca-Cola crate doesn't fit into the context of this location. So we made the traditional mud floor and the foundation. Some of them are used as a house, some of them are used as a school. This is a photo I received last year from local architects. It's still there, used as a local clinic. Next, please. 2008, 2 months before Beijing Olympic, city of Chengdu, they had a big earthquake, over 80,000 people killed. Also, many of the school collapsed, killed children. And also, I started preparing temporary house, but the local government didn't want any foreigner to make a temporary houses. But instead, I met the schoolmaster. She asked me to make a temporary classrooms. So I brought my Japanese student to work with the local Chinese student for 5 weeks. Locally available paper tube, so wooden joint. We made the 9 square meter with a timber structure, paper tube structure with student. As you can see, children are so happy because they could come back to the original school. It's still there. Next, please. 2009, Italy, city of L'Aquila. It's near Rome. They had a big earthquake. And this is the former Italian Prime Minister, Mr. Berlusconi. And he decided to bring G8 summit to L'Aquila. This time, Russia was part of the summit, so this was not G7, this was G8. And because of this big earthquake, he decided to bring G8 summit to L'Aquila to ask some international committee for some support. And immediately after the earthquake, I went to there to meet the mayor. Mayor asked me to design temporary music hall, auditorium, because this city is very famous for music. They have their own philharmonic orchestra, school of music, but they have no place to play. That's why I started designing a temporary concert hall. And I got a phone call from a Japanese ambassador in Rome, and he decided to support my fundraising. So this is a wonderful press conference with the Italian Prime Minister and also Japanese Prime Minister, showing my model. And Mr. Berlusconi doesn't know what is he's holding. He's holding paper tube. Because of this successful press conference, I got €500,000 to build temporary concert hall. I didn't want to use the concrete for the wall, although this has to be very well acoustically insulated. I just made a frame out of scaffolding pipes and put the sandbag in order to get a very good sound insulation. Inside, it's covered by different diameter of the paper tube as an acoustical element. Exterior tube are structures, and just covered by red curtain to cover this. And this is the opening concert. Next, please. 2010, Haiti. It's a small island in Caribbean Ocean. The south left half is Haiti, right half is Dominican Republic. Because of all the airport and the Port-au-Prince is capital of the Haiti, totally destroyed. So I had to fly over to Santo Domingo, drove over 7 hours, finding out situation like this. And I couldn't get any material locally, so I made a team with a student in Santo Domingo, preparing paper shelter to brought over to train local people to build by themselves. Next, please. 2011, north of Japan, we had a big earthquake, tsunami, and nuclear problem. This is typical emergency evacuation facility, is a gymnasium. There's no privacy. Government doesn't care the privacy. But I thought the privacy is most basic human right between families. So I made the partition system with the paper tube, small diameter tube just inserted, hanging the fabric with a safety pin, and we can open, close to adjust the size depending on the size of the families. In the beginning, all the government authority who organized the evacuation facility rejected them. They said it's easier to control the people without partitions. They didn't care. But this particular city, the tsunami killed the mayor and most of city officials. So that is why this facility was organized by physics teacher of high school. he doesn't say what the government says. He said, this is a very good idea. So in 1 week, we prepared 500 family units. Little by little, within 3 months, we built 80 facilities. And the first 30 facilities, they rejected us. And little by little, this became very known, and we built 2,000 units within 3 months. This is a photo taken 2020, after pandemic. Every time we have earthquake, every year earthquake and flooding, we have to build this. But finally, during the COVID, the doctor, medical doctor, told the government, this is very good to stop spreading COVID viruses. So finally, after 15 years, this became government standard partition system, now stored in government storage. Next, please. After people have spent 4 months in evacuation facility, they can move to temporary houses made by government like this. It's very poor. It's so close to each other, it's difficult to open the window. Inside is so messy like this. Also, many of the area was, the ground was fluidized, which means ground became like this. So that I knew that there are many of area doesn't have enough flat area to make a single-story temporary housing. So I prepared 3-story temporary houses with 20 feet shipping container stacked checkerboard pattern and get permission from the government. Then when I go to the different city for the partitions, I asked the mayor if they don't have enough place. This is another solution. Next, please. At one of the city called Onagawa, mayor accepted this because they have only one baseball ground for 190 units. They had to make 3-story. So we just made the foundation out of steel plates, stacking a container as a checkered board pattern. This is the inside. Because I have to use the government money, I have to design the same size and using same budget. Although this is the same budget and same size, still we can make something comfortable. However, I created a new problem. Normally people can stay there for 4 years, but nobody want to move out. So that they didn't want to move out, so they was there for 8 years. So recently they moved out, finally they went back to the baseball ground. Next, please. Few weeks before the earthquake in Japan, there is a big earthquake in Christchurch in New Zealand. And also there are many, 28 Japanese English school students was killed. And this was big news. But after the Tohoku earthquake, a few weeks after, this news was gone. But I got an email from one of the priests of the most important Catholic the cathedral in Christchurch. He said, you must be an architect who can design temporary cathedral free of charge. I said, if the church is used not only religious service, but the public use, I'm happy to do it. So although I was very busy working in north of Japan after the earthquake, I also commuted to New Zealand. First thing I did is analyzing geometry of existing cathedral, finding out golden section as a rules to use for the new design. Next, please. This is completion. This is paper tube locally available in New Zealand. And the ground floor is made of shipping containers. And this is a bishop. She's the most important person. She loves the building. But I had only one fight with her in the end of the construction. I tried to make the cross in paper. She said it looks cheap. But I told her, in Japanese, by accident, we call the paper kami, which also means by accident, it's God. So I told her making the cross out of paper must be very lucky. So she was convinced making the cross out of paper. Next, please. 2014, in Cebu Island in Philippines, they had a big typhoon and earthquake. I went to there. In Taiwan, in Philippines, they have a big beer company called San Miguel, but they were so difficult to donate the beer crate. So finally, I had to use Coca-Cola crates. And because of climate, we made the wall with woven bamboo. It's a standard element with a nice ventilation. Next, please. 2015, Nepal, they had a big earthquake. Because of most of the building made in brick is not really good for the earthquake, but I didn't waste rubber of the brick. This is the test I did in Japan in order to design the wall with wooden frame filled with brick to meet Japanese earthquake standard. So this is a house we built with wooden frame filled with the brick out of the destroyed building. This is an elementary school in the mountain. Brick was not available, so we used a stone instead as a permanent elementary school. Next, please. This is a paper log house we built last year in 4 different locations. This is in Turkey, near Syrian border, Antakya. They had a big earthquake in February last year. This is Marrakesh. In September, they had a big earthquake. Always I work with local students to build the house. Material was prepared in school workshop and built in one day by student. This is one in Hawaii. In August, they had a big fire, and there's a Japanese temple. They asked me to make a temporary house, and also now we are designing a temple out of paper tube. This is also same house built May last year in north of Japan called Noto Peninsula. And actually this photo was taken January 1st. Same area had a much bigger earthquake and destroyed many houses and killed 500 people. And this house was okay in last May, but because of earthquake January, this was destroyed, laying on my paper house. It was no problem. So my house was really good, even for such a big earthquake. Next, please. This is a project for Ukraine. As you know, remember the February 24, 3 years ago already, the Russia invaded the Ukraine and created a lot of refugees. This is refugee emergency evacuation facility in Poland. There is no privacy. I collaborate with my friend in Poland to make the paper tube partition for them. This is my NGO, Voluntary Architects Network, and the same paper tube partition built in Japan, in other countries. Everything was donated free from local manufacturer. We built in Poland, Ukraine, Slovakia, Berlin, and Paris, like this. Next, please. Also, as you know, that Russia attacked the power station. I found a very lightweight, very good fire stove in north of Japan. So it's very lightweight. They can even cook on top of this. We donated 200 of them. He looks very happy receiving my stove, but he's injured. His house was totally burned by bombing. Next, please. Also, I start preparing affordable housing with Polish student. This is a system made of styrofoam, foam core. This is normally used for the packing for the cardboard boxes, also used for the insulation. We just put the glass fiber reinforced plastic. We don't need any machine, just we paint by hand. And because it's very lightweight, but very well insulated, we made the modules with students and brought over to Lviv city, which is west side of Ukraine, to build by students in one day. So this is the inside. This is the affordable housing system we are preparing now for Ukraine. Next, please. This is another project in the city of Lviv. This is the mayor. He asked me to design the hospital of 25,000 square meters. Because the city of Lviv is west side of the Ukraine, it's rather safe. That's why there are so many internal displaced people and also many injured people from the war in this hospital. That's why hospital is over capacity. So they decide to make a new one. Ukraine has the biggest CLT, cross-laminated timber factory in East Europe. They used to export to Canada and the US, but now they cannot. So mayor asked me to design this hospital using this locally available CLT. However, Ukraine has a very strict fire regulation like Japan. We cannot make such a scale of building in timber. However, as you know, the Ukrainians want to be part of the EU. Mayor decide to take EU building regulation so that we can make such a hospital in timber. I tried to, this is my sketch using the timber connections without metal connections. Only four core in four corner is in concrete for the emergency stair and the elevator. Other than that, there's all timber exposed. So this is going to be, construction will start next spring. This is going to be first timber structure in Ukraine built with EU building regulation. Next, please. That's it. Thank you very much.
Delightful, insightful lecture. It was truly a privilege to see your work, both the commercial work as well as the humanitarian work that you're doing. One question that I had for you is, the structures that you are able to create, it really pushes the limit of engineering. How do you work with consultants and team? Also, you talked about the challenges that you're working with local bodies and regulations. Can you give us an instance of a challenge that you faced with structure as well as local regulations?
Building timber structure in Europe, there are no problems. It's very easy because of regulation. But building in Japan and other countries which have a very strict fire regulation, always is a challenge. But in Europe, there are many good engineers and also timber specialists and the timber manufacturer. I never had any problem, except prejudice of the city government, because they have never seen. It's very they sometimes difficult to understand, but always I prove by testing. So then it's no problem. So always we have to prove by testing material with engineer and specialist. Then we don't have any problem. But the making paper building is more problematic because always authority has a prejudice about paper.
You showed us a building in which you use CLT as a formwork with concrete inside. Does that mean that you can do away with the reinforcement of the concrete completely? Does the CLT act as reinforcement, tensile reinforcement completely?
As I said, we tested the concrete is mainly working for compression, and because of CLT, they are working for the bending. So they are helping each other as a hybrid structure. So the concrete can be smaller than normal because of this reinforcement of the CLT. That was proved by testing.
Thank you.
And also that to use the CLT for the concrete form for the floor, we have less support. So that normally we cannot walk underneath of the concrete floor until the concrete is dry. But because there are no support underneath, we can start walking under the floor immediately. So that's good to save time for construction.